Good evening to everyone. Thank everyone for being here tonight. This is the Shelbyville City Council Special Call Workshop. It is Monday, October 27th. It's about 5:30. And we want to call our meeting to order at this time. And do we need to do a roll call, Lisa?
No, sir, we don't.
Okay. All right. We'll ask for public comments at this time, and I think that's what Lisa's looking for.
Yes, sir, we do have somebody signed up, Ryan Parsons.
Okay, Mr. Parsons, would you come up to the podium there, and I think you have, what, 3 minutes, is that right?
Yes, you have 3 minutes for comment, and the time will start when you start to speak.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir. Good evening, council. Sorry I'm dressed like I am. We're going through some health issues, but I'll be more like you guys. They were like this. But anyway, I think several people know I'm here for the reason of the roosters, all the way from animal control to, you know, through court 4 times. Just trying to seek some kind of, I'm lost. I can't do anything, because I know cities, animal control, cities' hands are tied. They can't do anything, and I'm not here to be a problem, make things worse. I'm here to be a problem to the solution. I would like for us to come to some kind of terms where we can figure out to get this problem solved, because it's been going on for 2 years. I've left home, trying to stay calm, to leave and defuse the situation. My yard's torn up. Stuff is still going on. If you want to see video on the phone, I've got it on the phone. We're actually checked it on my yard this morning, and started this morning at about 6:30. The roosters crowing, raising cane, and I can't. I'm just looking for help. And I know you don't understand my situation. What my situation is, it's so much of a problem. I can't sit in my house and do my daily devotion. I own a small business, try to do my paperwork. I can't because of all the growing, raising cane, which I can fix my yard. My yard, that's not that big a problem. And it's going to cost me some money. But, where do I go? I mean, I've called and I've talked, and I'm worried these poor people to death. And Miss Ewing, thank you for giving me Josh's number. He called, come out and look, checked everything out. And I'm thankful. I appreciate what you gentlemen and ladies are doing. But from what I understand, the lady that owns the property will not come to the door. She doesn't answer for SPD. She doesn't answer for animal control.
Thank you, Mr. Parsons. Do we have anyone else?
I don't have anyone else signed up. Does anyone else want to make a comment?
Yes, Mayor, I don't know if it's protocol. City Board Smith, I don't know if it's protocol, but I had a message from the citizen that they were not able to be here. They sent it to me to read. Is that okay? Can I do that?
We will have city council concerns after the city animal control does that's what the agenda said. Is that correct? Or can we do it now?
Yes, sir.
Well, it's a public comment.
Yeah.
It's a public comment.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Can you give me their name?
The name is Ruby Cole at 403 Greenwood Avenue.
Okay.
And she says, I initially would like to thank City Manager Collins and Council Noel for coming by to personally acknowledge my complaint of the foul rooster issue that we are experiencing on this street and surrounding areas. Multiple pictures have been sent to both parties. My neighbor has traps out and have caught roosters and chickens that crow and roam the street at will, as well as scratching up flower beds. He has called animal control to remove them, and they refuse, stating that they are not equipped to house them. He took them to the county, the neighbor did. He should not have to waste his time, efforts, gas to do this for animal control. This is their department. In my opinion, farm animals of any kind, especially roosters belong in the county. The solution would be to simplify. The solution would be simple. Reword or change the ordinance on fowl, goats, etc., and be more specific of what and how many allowed in the city. Equip animal control with cages to catch and find an entity in the county that will take them, or last result, euthanization. If animal control workers need further training on doing their job, which I feel some do, male or female, they should do the job they were hired to do. Last but not least, codes department should and could do a better job on following up on complaints, issuing citations, and following up on fines. Both departments should be allowed to enter on a property to assess the situation and carry their duties. Furthermore, these fowl and animals do carry diseases such as histoplasmosis and other diseases. Thank you for your time, R. Cole.
Anyone else have anything? Okay, we're gonna ask the City of Shelbyville Animal Control, Mariah and Pat, whoever wants to speak first, to, tell us who we are. I think we know who you are, but for the benefit of our listening audience and everyone else that you'll get to know. Mariah, if you want to lead us off, or Pat, whichever one. Please.
Sure.
Good evening.
Evening. I'm Mariah Teal. I have a statement typed up that I believe everyone has a copy of, and I'll just read from here. Animal control and what it means. We will discuss our objectives and purpose, training, housing, calls of service data, and animal outcomes. Our objectives and purpose. The Animal Care and Control Division includes Deputy Chief Pat Mathis as the director, myself as the animal control supervisor on site, 2 full-time animal control officers, and 1 full-time kennel technician, and 1 part-time administrative assistant. Our primary objectives are to protect and educate the public. Animal control officers protect the public by responding to dangerous animal calls, and they educate the public about the rabies virus, altering domestic animals, and local and state laws. When these objectives are achieved, they in turn protect the animals as well. Our secondary objectives include providing services to the public and animals through impoundment of dogs and cats, issuing warnings or citations as necessary, investigating cruelty and abuse cases, continued education and training for the animal control officers, and an adoption program. At the end of the day, we aim to have compliance with city and state laws and understand that we cannot make everyone happy. Our department works under the idea that citations are not always the answer and can sometimes cause more unrest with the citizens we try to maintain a healthy relationship with. However, when issued, it is with the intent to gain compliance, not to monetarily punish the citizens. We do not only take calls for service, send animal control officers out and pick up animals. It's not always that simple. It can be taking a phone call from a citizen that is immediately irate because of the ongoing issue of their neighbor's chickens at large in their yard, but to us, it's the first time they have reported it, so we did not know that they have been slowly letting this offense build up until they are past reasoning with. It can be someone calling the office saying that they picked up a dog that was abandoned and doesn't know what to do with it, but after investigation, animal control officers find that the dog was not abandoned. The owner asked a family member to watch the dog while they moved and had plans to get the dog in a few days. But the caller and the owner of the dog are currently in an unrelated family dispute, and so the caller tried to use our department to get the dog owner in trouble. It can be a person bringing a cat to our office claiming that they just found it down the road, but in truth, it's their cat and they don't want to be put on our owner surrender waiting list because it's too long, or it may really not be theirs, but they found it outside of city limits and have already been turned away from another animal control department because they don't even intake cats. Then we also have animals that are picked up from cruelty cases that typically take more care and attention than others. And no animal in our care are just housed here, fed and watered. When time permits, employees attempt to give the animals time in the yard to run, test their candidacy for adoption, and find playmates. Our training. The only requirement for full-time animal control officers are to be certified animal euthanasia technicians. But we do have continued educational goals that include certification of completion of the National Animal Care and Control Association Animal Control Officer Online Training Course. This nearly $400 online basic ACO program is filled with more than 20 hours of instruction, activities, and exercises designed to help us grow and succeed in our role. Completion of the basic online academy and final exam are necessary to receive the certification. Current animal control officers are also certified in OC spray and taser. So we also have those certifications. Most of our training is hands-on and passed from current to new employees when hired. Supporting documents and forms are printed and readily available and encouraged for review at any time with 2 binders labeled Training and Resource Book 1 and 2. Basic care and limited medical knowledge of domestic animals such as cats and dogs is generally known and easily maintained, and any more advanced medical questions are referred to local veterinarians. We can legally administer the feline leukemia, canine parvo, and Bordetella vaccines, but cannot administer the rabies vaccine as Tennessee law dictates it only be given under a veterinary supervision, and we do not have one on staff. Some veterinarian offices offer slight discounts, some don't, and sometimes their schedules are too full to fit us in. Housing. We have 2 separate buildings that house our animal and staff. Building 1 has our open lobby, 2 employee offices. It also houses cats with only 11 kennels, and then 6 kennels for dogs where we typically house the young, sick, or injured, animal cruelty cases, that kind of thing. This building also has limited storage. Building 2 which opened in the summer of 2020 and has 26 dog kennels, a laundry room, and a medical room. We are landlocked, sharing public works property, meaning there is no room for any more housing. As of this past Thursday, the 23rd, we have 23 cats, which means, yes, that we have some doubled up in their kennels, since we only have 11 kennels. However, this is only possible when the cats are young and small and cannot be maintained when they are fully grown. And we have 22 dogs in custody. Dogs in custody can vary significantly and quickly, just call to call. There's plenty of times I'll go on a call, there's 3 dogs we pick up. We have cats and dogs both, that go to rescues or 501c3 before, but adoptions are our primary way to make more space, especially for cats. When adoptions are low, our options and space are limited. Rescues get full too, and they can only maintain or intake what their fosters can or want to. Data. Reports are disseminated monthly to council, but previously the yearly summary reports have not been included, which has been potentially confusing data points, which I will address later in my statement. Furthermore, recent suggestions have been made to expand the monthly report to include call types, not just the disposition, to clearly show what type of calls our department receives more of. The program we use at Animal Control is called Animal Shelter Manager, or ASM, and it's what we use to log our calls and all the animals that we have in care, all their information. So let's look specifically at our fowl complaints. Our system logged any chicken, at-large, or prohibited rooster together under the category as fowl. Since January 1st of this year, we've logged 95 fowl calls. Broken down further, that is 44 for just prohibited rooster, 39 for just chickens at large, and 16 that had a mixture of both. Of those 44 for just prohibited roosters, there was 24 citations issued. All but one have complied. If a verbal warning was given, it was because the owner was immediately removing the rooster. If no citation or verbal warning was issued, it was either because no one was home, there were no roosters present, or an owner was not known. All rooster-related calls were followed up by animal control in person to verify that no roosters were present, and then recommended to the court for dismissal based on compliance. During this time, only 3 owners hadn't complied by their court date, and again, 2 of those 3 have since complied. Additionally, there have only been 3 more owners that were considered repeat offenders, whether it was that, typically it was that their chickens were at large more than once. The main reason we were called is for a dog or cat at large at 54% of our total calls, followed by welfare-related calls at 19%, aggression or bite calls at 11%, foul calls at 9%, dead animals at 3%, and miscellaneous at 2%. Our animal outcomes. The 5 main categories of animal outcomes for animals are reclaimed by owner, adopted, rescued, died in care, or euthanized. There are fees associated with owner reclaiming their impounded dog, but sometimes they are waived based on having the dog for a short time, or in lieu of a citation, or because they would otherwise refuse to reclaim their dog. In such circumstances, we wouldn't know at the time if the dog would be adopted in the future or become another euthanasia statistic. We can only advertise and post on social media and beg the public to adopt so much, and really a responsible pet owner can only own and maintain so many animals at once. We can't make adoptions happen. We can only handle the result of low adoptions as best we can. Any rescue will be limited by their foster system as to what breed or size dog they would pull from us, which is understandable, but what that looks like at our shelter is that most animals going to these organizations are the smaller, more desirable breeds, and then the large breed dogs stay with us for weeks or months or longer. Died in care is a category we used for the possible event of a dog or cat seemingly fine at the end of business on Monday, found deceased by employees Tuesday morning. This could be for several reasons, such as illness, not visually seen, or having ingested something toxic before impoundment. Year to date, we have a 9.85% euthanasia rate. That includes animals euthanized for behavioral issues, sickness or disease, and space. Broken down, that is specifically 1 cat for behavior, 9 for being sick or injured. Then we have 8 dogs for behavior, 4 that were sick or injured, and 4 recently for space in September. There is no animal control without euthanasia. It is sometimes a necessary part of the job, but none of us go into work wanting to do that. And I can promise you that if that became a daily occurrence, you wouldn't have an animal control there. Especially this is our concern when new regulations are discussed. We do not have a written out policy dictating space capacity before euthanasia. It is just determined based on several factors to include the most obvious space, but in total, not just space for dogs versus cats, time of the week, employee attendance, workhouse assistance. We do employ a trustee for workhouse cleaning things, visual signs of degrading behavior or health, cruelty caseload, and housing. All the dogs we have in the shelter have belonged to someone. There would be no way that the dogs we picked up were born at large and have been at large for years before someone called and they got impounded. Unfortunately, reality is that it's the irresponsible pet owners that do not get their animals altered and then have unwanted litters, or owners that don't care if their animals are gone, so they don't reclaim them. There have been a few dogs that were not able to be caught by traditional means or in a preferred time frame. However, those dogs are few and far between. In any of these cases, and then when dogs are not adopted or taken in by a rescue, and we continue to take daily calls to pick up more dogs at large, then our department is forced to make unfavorable decisions. We do not halt intake of animals when necessary, so therefore we cannot have more control over euthanasia numbers. Simply speaking, doing nothing does not always mean nothing was done, but rather that we did not do what someone wanted us to do. Doing our job does not always mean doing what someone wants. It means upholding the law, following how the law dictates we uphold said law, solving problems, and meeting our objectives. Additionally, I did break down some of the numbers I discussed to repeat those and show what that looks like. These are all numbers as of Friday, and was just gonna break down to show what they show. Essentially that our facility is at 105% capacity as of Friday. Between cats and dogs, but then it breaks it down a little bit more for your understanding and so you can see what it looks like. And then the call types year to date. I did 2 separate graphs just to show a couple of different ways how that could look to someone, the percentage of calls, and then a bar graph to show the specific number, how there was 570 of the 1,049 calls logged since January 1 of this year that all were for dogs or cats at large, versus 117 of 1,049 calls total were for aggression or bite and so forth. That is all I have.
Very good report. Very good report. Any questions for Mariah?
What book did you copy this out of?
Chat GPT. No, I'm kidding. I don't use that. That's
They don't miss me.
Welcome back.
I have a couple questions. So like you're saying you're at 105% capacity, but really the units for the cats and dogs are separate.
yes,
So how can you be at 105%? Because you could be over in the cat, but you're way under in the dog.
because it's still the same employees taking care of both the animals. It's still the mental strain of housing over capacity in total.
So when you euthanize those animals in September for space,
Yes,
we should
they were dogs.
never euthanize animals for space. There's ways to get around that, but when you did that, how many dogs did you have in there? At that point?
I couldn't tell you exactly. They were,
For
Four
all the
dogs at
kennels
one
being used, for all the kennels being used.
no ma'am. Because we have to use some for emergencies.
Well, the
PD intake, that's minimal. I've had PD pick up as much as 6 over one weekend and no one animal control related was working full-time. We don't work full-time on the weekends. We get called in to clean and called in for emergency only calls. And euthanasia for space wouldn't be considered an emergency call at that point, but had we not had those 6 available kennels, that's what would have happened. We would have been called in to euthanize for space.
Well, if you're doubling up cats, you can double up small animals for dogs too.
I don't believe
They're
that's
puppies.
safe. No, ma'am, I don't believe. Puppies, yes. Like if it was a litter of puppies that came like with the mama and puppies, yes, we've done that before. Obviously, they need to remain together. But for unknown dogs not being picked up together in those circumstances, no, I don't believe that would be safe to house more than one dog in one kennel.
Okay, couple of other questions.
Yep.
So y'all don't vaccinate upon arrival?
We do
You
not.
take one to save money on the vaccines in case you have to utilize, is what I've heard
That
multiple times from people.
Yes, that would be one reason, yes.
Okay, so to me, that's not right, because then you have dogs that are being pulled by rescues, cats, have parvo, distemper, because they weren't vaccinated, or they didn't have the right things. They're not getting rabies, because we can't give rabies.
We do give rabies.
But you send them to a, you
Yes.
send them to a vet. We don't have one on staff.
Yes, that's correct. And we've had one instance recently of what you're mentioning about parvo, and the dog showed those symptoms with us, and even a vet recommendation would only be to test the dog for parvo when it had symptoms, and that dog did not in our care.
Because they were there 3 weeks.
They were there for
Get it.
3 weeks, yes.
And then y'all
Had them-
vaccinated when you knew they were gonna be pulled by the rescue.
We did, yes, we vaccinated the dog a week, I think, a week or 3 days, two days then before they was pulled, yes, ma'am. And that's because we knew where the dog was going, and so we vaccinated it then, which is proper or acceptable procedure through the National Animal Care and Control Association.
Okay, so I got a couple more questions. I'm sorry, but this is a passion of mine, and I have a couple questions. So you say you do the ACO basic.
Yes.
So do y'all do the ACO 2 for advanced animal cruelty? Do y'all do, yearlies through Levy or NACA and ACA? Do y'all do
That's
through
what
yearly?
That's what the NACA, what I mentioned, that is good for 3 years, but within those 3 years, they want you to do continued education and attend for that to stay valid. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and y'all each have like a binder with everything that y'all do.
Training, yes. Personally, my NACA Animal Control Officer 1 has recently expired. We were looking at how much it was for the NACA Online 2 to get, because I got mine 3 years ago. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and do y'all utilize some of these free courses? Because I know that FEMA has free courses, FACCT has free courses, ASPCA has free courses, ACAT has free courses. Do y'all
Yeah,
utilize those?
Online, yeah. And there's also Maddie's Fund, I think is one that I
There's a lot.
usually get an email from.
Yeah.
Yeah, we get those. Mhm. Yes, ma'am. Those aren't required, but those are things when we see a title of a certain aspect that we see like, oh, that seems real interesting or something, we would do, yes, ma'am.
Okay, and to kind of help keep costs down, do you, apply for grants?
No, we don't have a grant related person to
I'm
do
just
that. We
saying
do
the-
have a single grant that the city hall does for spay and neuter for adoptions that specify for low income or, I believe like a elderly adopter that cuts
Grants, but
that.
okay, and do you participate in like the shelter, programs with some of the medication, programs like, here, I did a lot of research on this, where you can get medicines for like 1/3 of the cost, the vaccines.
No, I
So
haven't
there's
heard
two
anything
available
of
out there
that.
that the county does utilize,
Okay,
that you can get medications for a lot cheaper.
okay.
They do work with Tractor Supply, so that cuts down on the cost of animal control to help you with things.
What are the two grants that you mentioned? I'll write them down and look into it for sure.
And then within your ASM, software,
Mhm.
you can pull any report in, right? Because I haven't seen the monthly reports for animal control in 4 or 5 months until we ask again in September.
I don't disseminate them. I can't answer that
You
question.
don't send them in?
I send them to my chain of command. I don't disseminate them to council. So I don't have that answer.
Who would be that person?
I don't know.
Well, I send them out, and I know, I thought that they had been included in the agenda packet. I know there had been a month that was missed, and I contacted Mariah and told her, and she immediately sent me what was missed.
Okay. Then I must have missed them because I missed them for a few months. So I just wanted to make.
Yeah, there's a gap, but
Yeah.
we got an April one, the most recent one we got was September.
Okay, I'll have to look back, because I maybe not did
I'll send you that was Mariah, just a second, and I'll get that for you, because I wrote it down when I read it, because I thought that might be something good that, here it is, ZOETIS, ZOETIS, for vaccinations through shelter programs. And
Yeah, you said
then
there's-
medicines through Midwest, because.
That's
they're
what we
like
use,
transportation.
but you mentioned grant specifically.
Oh, no, this was like a shelter program for meds through ZOETIS, ZOETIS, that has way cheaper, like if it's $8, they might give it to you for $2.
We use Midwest. If you're saying they're similar, then yes, we use Midwest.
For
But-
vaccinations?
Yes.
I
For
might
our
look
program
into the
workshop.
shelter program for the other two.
For Zotis, you saying?
And also, one more thing.
Sure.
By ASPC or the Humane Association, one of those had it, you're supposed to have at least 15 minutes of interaction with humans a day.
Okay.
Is that being done?
I can't guarantee that happens every day because we have call volumes that fluctuate.
So we don't staff in order to meet that guideline?
I can't staff for unknown. I don't know. Today, we had 5 calls, but I can't say that tomorrow we would have more or less. So it's too much of an unknown to say that if we only have 5 calls, that the staff we have right now is sufficient to meet those requirements. But tomorrow, if we have 20 calls, that part of the unknown, I can't say that that would guarantee that.
So are you saying, are you a deficiency in staff?
I can't say that. I can only say that it's the unknown of the call volume. That's the biggest unknown. The call volume dictates our other, and our other being 15 minutes a day minimally with the cats or dogs.
Mr. Mayor, I want to piggyback on, Councilmember Noel's statement on the vaccination.
Mhm.
It would appear that you would be able to work with one of the veterinarians right here in Shelbyville, or Bedford County to help out on what you're lacking as far as those vaccinations. Have
In
you
what
guys
way?
tried to?
Price or?
Yes,
Regular.
yes, services and price, there could be some volunteer, there, you never know until you approach and ask.
Yeah, we have a voucher program for any animal that is usually used for like an owner reclaim. If the animal is picked up and it's not rabies vaccinated, they leave with a voucher to go to their preferred local vet to get that done. They pay us here at the shelter for their reclaim fee, then they go to that vet. And the pricing for the rabies vaccine, that's where I mentioned in my statement, they don't necessarily give discounts. It's a $15 rabies vaccine that we charge them in-house. They can go to that vet and only be charged for that rabies vaccine. They're not being charged like a full exam fee or something, and that helps the owner reclaiming their dog. But as far as helping us, I mean, it helps us help the person reclaiming their dog, but it's not, I mean, it's not like really directly helping us with our animals and houses, the owner and their dog, helping them for their rabies. Does that make sense? Am I saying that correctly?
I thought that voucher was just increased to like $17 or something from one of the vets. They told me that the other day that they had requested that it be increased to 17 and we had agreed on that. Is that?
Oh, the second.
Do we know? Okay.
And the voucher breakdown too is, it's $75 for an adoption. 50 of those dollars goes towards the spay or neuter of the animal, 15 goes towards the rabies, the 10 is the parvobordetella. Upon adoption, all those things would be completed, or they would be going to the vet. Like some local may adopt a cat and it's just underage of being altered at the clinic, but they would take that voucher, take the animal to the clinic, and that would all be done in that way using the voucher.
I just have a problem with them not being vaccinated when they brought in, because if you've got more than one animal in there and this dog is not vaccinated, then you very well could spread. If you're just waiting to see if you're gonna have to euthanize, that's not a way a no-kill shelter needs to kind of think. Our thought process should be, we won't be euthanizing these animals.
Mhm,
They need their vaccination.
mhm.
And so that's where I kind of get hung up on why we're not doing it.
Yeah, I can see how that would look for someone in your position, but me being on the ground, having to euthanize those animals that don't get adopted, that's our reality. Is I have to make those decisions when they're not adopted, and we have no space to facilitate the unknown of animals coming in and having to have emergency kennels open,
So tell me what county does it and we don't.
because they can restrict their intake. They can post on social media saying this dog was found at large in this area, they can't intake that animal. We don't have those
We
restrictions.
can't do that.
I've never been approved to do that.
Approved to post on social media. that
No,
there's a-
approved to ban an intake. If someone comes to me and says, there's a dog at my house, we go and get it. We can't say, no, sorry, we're full, or we're close to full, we're at 80% capacity, we can't pick it up. And that's where I say in my statement, we can't control our intake like that. So we can't control if euthanasia has to be an option. And I mean, I've never been directed to refuse an intake is what that is.
Can I say something? Is that allowed? Is that allowed?
Can you ask the mayor?
May I?
Yeah, stand up, please.
Okay.
What did you say?
May I speak?
Yeah, just identify yourself if you don't mind.
Donna Armstrong Clan.
Yes, Donna.
I'm with New Destiny Dog Rescue.
Okay.
I work with Mariah. We have, I think, a pretty good relationship.
Yeah.
We pull as many dogs from city as we possibly can. The hold intake that Bedford County Animal Control has in place, they still pick up vicious dogs, even when they have the intake. If there is a dog that has been hit, they still pick up. What they hold off on, if they're full, is owner surrenders or strays that are not dangerous. They're not a danger to anybody. That's what they hold up on. They do vaccinate on intake. That's a matter of routine when that dog comes in the door. I've talked to Mariah about this before. I really think it needs to be done. We just pulled a 2-year-old dog from them. It wasn't even a puppy. And the one she was talking about that got vaccinated 2 days before we pulled it. Overnight, it broke with parvo. It's going to survive. It's old enough that it did have an immune system. But a few months ago, we had another one we pulled from city that had distemper. And that vaccination is distemper parvo all in one. That could have been avoided. The vet at North Point that sent that deceased dog out for testing said she hadn't seen a case of distemper in years. I just think we can do better. I think we should do better, and it's not hard. Also, as far as having vet supervision for rabies vaccinations, we do have a vet that is semi-retired. His name is Dr. Roger Richards.
Okay.
He does our health exams for our dogs that are transporting. He offered a couple of years ago that he comes to Shelbyville. He lives between Shelbyville and Belleville. He offered to come to city animal control once or twice a week to do rabies shots.
I'll call it.
And he did it a few times. I mean, he's willing to do that. He doesn't have a clinic anymore. He sold it. He had a practice for many years. So that's another option. Another thing, a way that probably nobody wants to hear this, to increase adoptions is to adjust the hours that animal control is open. Right now, they're open 7 to 3:30, Monday through Friday.
Mhm.
Most people go to work, can't get there. Saturday, half a day would be awesome. Bedford County Animal Control's open Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, half a day Saturday. They're closed on Wednesday.
What are their hours?
They open from 10 till 5. 10 until 5. And on Saturday, they're open 10 until 2. So, I mean, it's just easier for the public to come. I mean, the 7 to 3:30 is hard.
We-
Working people.
Yeah.
Right.
Not going their lunch break
Yeah.
or something.
We do oftentimes when people make communication efforts with us, stay over late or come in, or on the weekend cleaning, stay late, but that's all scheduled. But we do make those arrangements when asked. It doesn't always happen when asked. And as
Yeah.
far as the vet coming by, I don't recall that being an offer while I've been there.
Mhm.
That's certainly something I
Maybe
would
it could have
accept.
been before you were there. Honestly, it could have been. It might have been when Dylan was there. I can't remember for sure. But
no, I mean, that's a good.
he's willing to do that. He comes to our rescue every 2 weeks to do our health exams. You know, works out the time. It's very flexible. And I learned about the Zoetis today, just that Betsy had mentioned that company, because we order our vaccinations from Midwest. But I learned today that Zoetis offers a program, a shelter program, where you can get the vaccinations even cheaper. And if you're vaccinating a dog that unfortunately you have to euthanize later, on 1 month they euthanize 6 dogs. Are we talking about that much cost? Really? I mean,
I don't have
So
the
go ahead.
numbers for 3 vaccines, 3 or 4, depending on the vet recommendation, but it'd be 3 or 4 per dog vaccine.
yeah,
Yeah.
distemper parvo, if they're there at least 3 weeks, they need 2 shots of that, and then they need 1 Bordetella vaccine. And then the rabies. The rabies is required by state law to have. We, at Bedford County Animal Control on their rabies, they have a vet that oversees them. The vet's not even there when they do the rabies shot. They do the rabies shot, and that vet signs off on it. So the vet doesn't even have to come out at the time that they do it.
They just have to have them logged on record that it's a vet on staff. That's
Yes.
mentioned we don't have one to do
Yeah.
that.
One that oversees. Also, I'm concerned about the voucher follow-up. I know these vouchers are given out, and maybe most people do use them and go do what they're supposed to do, but
Yeah.
I'm sure there's some that don't.
Yes, we
Yeah.
follow up. Our administrative assistant will call. For example, if the appointment is made for just right after they leave the shelter, that's easy peasy to be followed up on, even if it's the next day. Our admin assistant will call. If it's not done within the timeline that the voucher has an expiration date on the bottom, usually about a week away in case there are any, kind of things that come up, we would follow up with someone that lives in town to potentially follow up with a citation for unvaccinated animal. That does not happen often,
Yeah.
but we do have, I have a different folder for follow-up for that, yes.
See, and I would suggest just cutting that stuff out. I'd have it done before they left. Don't have to do those calls, don't have to do that follow-up, don't have to write a citation. You don't have to keep a file on that, just have it done before they leave.
If we had
That's just
the
my,
capability to do it,
yeah,
then we would,
it would be
yes.
ideal, it would be some steps you wouldn't have to do. So,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you, Mariah.
Mayor, can I-
Yes, please.
Mariah, in your training for the national, I know that you've had before, is there a standard about vaccinations as soon as animals come into a shelter, or is there a national standard, or?
What it mentions in that training for only animal control officer, one that I can attest to, is that there are 2 options. Vaccinate upon intake, vaccinate upon extake. It does not say one is better than the other. It gives pros and cons. Most of the pros that Councilwoman Noel has spoken about with the unknown. Also, would just mention too, that a dog that comes into the shelter, for instance, if the dog that New Destiny pulled recently, if it came into the shelter with parvo not not showing any symptoms, which typically is the feces is the biggest clue of a sick animal, humans too, but sick animal, then it would be tested. That's vet recommendation of testing. When it doesn't show any signs like that, we don't know to test or what to test. For 3 weeks, that dog was in our shelter and did not show any signs. He was eating normally, drinking normally, regular behavioral, eating, pooping, peeing, all that. He was just neutered at the Middle Tennessee Spay and Neuter Clinic the week before. It's also someone we spoke to about the positive parvo testing to make them aware and ask them if they had had any other patients in their facility during that time, call back and say about any symptoms or any weird behavior. I say all that to say the dog showed no signs. I don't know what else to say other than the timing was horrific for New Destiny to pull the dog. Same day they pulled the dog, they reported showing signs, lethargy, got it tested the next day and it came back positive. I don't know how to answer for that, and the fact that even if that dog was vaccinated and it came into the shelter with parvo and we vaccinated it for parvo, the vaccine would have just exacerbated the symptoms that weren't there at that time. Does that make sense? So the dog came in asymptomatic, was vaccinated with parvo. It's my understanding that the dog then would have declined in health for that to be known then, but not as it was without showing any symptoms. I'm not sure
So
if
there
I'm
is-
saying that right.
So just make sure, there's no standard then on
Well, there's no standard.
vaccination, there's no national standard. It's,
Sorry, no,
some places do intake, some places do exit.
correct.
But if you
Go
had
ahead.
vaccinated it, then the others could have, all of them had been vaccinated, then that would have protected the others in the shelter against getting it from that one dog if we hadn't been pulled.
Potentially, that is a potential. The other 2 dogs that have been close to that dog have not shown any symptoms, were vaccinated at the same time he was, have continued to show no symptoms. I don't know when the dog contracted it, whether it was before intake, if it was at the clinic. It hadn't been around any other dogs immediately to have gotten it from another intake dog that we had, besides the 2 that I'd mentioned were still in good proximity. No. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. We can talk about dogs and cats, and we can talk more about dogs and cats.
Sure.
We feel, we know what that shelter is doing.
Mhm.
We know what the shelter houses, the dogs and the cats.
Yeah.
You have indicated that we are filled,
I'm sorry, full, yeah.
we're full.
Mhm.
And that's continuous.
Yeah.
But that's not helping us with the situation at hand when we are talking other files. We're talking roosters. We're talking trying to come to some type of a decision, a conclusion, or action on taking for other than what we know is already there. That's not going to change. It's called animal control. Animal control. Animal means animal. It doesn't mean canine control only or cat control.
Mhm.
So all of the animals that we are faced with as a council,
Mhm.
with calls and emails and the stops at Walmart and Kroger, what are we doing? Are we going to discuss this? Other than the dogs and the cats, when we already know that we're filled up with that, and can't do a thing about it?
What I would say is, and I think I have spoken about this, if we pass an ordinance, we've got to have some legs to it
Yeah.
to take care of it. And in the case of these roosters, we passed the ordinance that there would be no roosters in the city of Shelbyville. And it is I know it's a difficult situation, and all of us have probably gotten calls and gone out to different places. I've been to one of the funeral homes that have them next door and all kinds of different places like that. But we've got to have, and I know our city judge has done what he can do as far as a punishment. But then if that person will not answer and we have the same thing with codes. If they won't, if you send them a certified mail about this, or they need to show up for court or whatever the situation is, if they don't sign for it. You know, I found out this week that one of the people that we're trying to contact on a code violation does not have a mailbox, does not have a mailing address. So there's no way to deliver it. So we're gonna have to take some action as a council and as a city of what can we do? If we have an ordinance, we've got to have legs to it to say, this is what's gonna happen. Now, when we're dealing with animals, I do not want to mistreat any animal, rooster or whatever. But if we pass that ordinance and if it's bothering the neighbors and the ordinance is a fact, we've got to do something. We can't ignore it. So what do?
Mayor, if I may.
Please.
I think y'all are still on A, asking Mariah questions. Then I think number 2 was talk about anything that y'all wanted to talk.
Right.
Take it by issue, so we definitely would talk about.
Yeah.
Any foul questions or whatever, so I don't know
Uh,
if y'all,
Do y'all get training on livestock or, fowl, or do y'all take any training on that, like how to handle animals that are not necessarily canine?
No, I mean, that's the only additional training of that.
I mean, I just didn't know if y'all
Centered
did
around
that to
dogs.
handle it, because that's a difference.
Yes.
Then.
And yeah, that we don't, and I don't recall in the NACA's focus is mainly cats and dogs and how to handle aggressive animals and things, handling, care. But back to Councilwoman Miss Ewing, I can only tell you what our department does do with the foul calls. Right now in our system, we have it logged just for foul calls, but then I did go into the 95 foul calls just from this year, but the 95 from this year to break it down to foul at large or roosters. And as stated, there was 44 for just prohibited roosters, and we've had all but one comply as the calls come in. I only wrote 24 citations, but it was compliance -1.
Yeah, I've got a question on that, and that was my question on your statement. You mentioned the roosters, we're down to one unresolved rooster, the way I read this. Mr. Parsons is sitting here, is he our only,
Yes,
you're
sir.
saying the whole city of Shelbyville, we don't have a
That,
rooster issue except for Mr. Parsons?
that has been issued and on call of record, yes.
Councilmember Noel and City Manager Collins have visited, an individual on Greenwood, and they're still just ripping and running back and forth.
The last time I was on Greenwood, we couldn't determine the
I don't know what
owner
happened
of
to
the
that one.
rooster.
I mean, is it still in the system, or how do you log in?
That's what I was saying, the last time we went to Greenwood and followed the roosters from behind Greenwood, and then Boston, doesn't appear to be an owner on Boston. We found a couple of chickens to belong to the road right behind there. They removed their chickens, but they only accounted for 3 of the 6 we saw on that day. Then there was a suspected coop on Acadia, through there. And there were, I believe it was 2 roosters that were in cages there. The person that was renting the property said they weren't the owner. We gave them the note to give to the landlord, and when we followed up the next day, the fowl in the cages were no longer there. As far as any more frequently running at large, if it was just determined that we could not find the owner, that is where I mentioned that is one likely scenario, and I believe that might be it. There were 6, I believe, I don't have that call in front of me, but I believe there was about 6 to 10 chickens seen that day when we were at Greenwood last. One house was found to belong 3 or 4, and then there was a couple from Acadia, and they had since been removed. I don't know about any more that are still at large. The roosters we dealt with that day were in cages.
So how do you go about finding the owner? How do you do that?
I mean, chickens and dogs kind of is actually the same thing. If we don't already know, it's either literally walking after them. I mean, chickens and dogs kind of they want to go home, so you can literally follow them. And that's what we've done with chickens as much as we can. Now, there are cases where they will go in the bush. We can't follow for whatever reason, or it's in between fences, or the chicken jumps the fence and we don't go to closed fencing. That's one way that I've lost a chicken.
Y'all aren't allowed to go in
That's
to personal property?
Correct, especially with the closed
Because you're not
fence.
sworn as an officer.
well,
Like,
you may have to have a warrant anyway of a sworn
So
officer.
like,
Pat can speak to that
Okay.
more, but yes, they do have to be aware of their
Okay.
ability to go onto property.
Yeah.
And that's the problem with roosters in general.
They run.
Running at large, y'all heard me say this before, is not really the issue. It's the band itself that we have to go through the process. And so I asked Mariah and Pat to give me, to speak, to bring to me what's going on that property over there. And as you know, there are thousands of dollars of fines on that.
Yeah.
Because that appears to be an ongoing court case, and there may be a second citation out, that's something that I need to get with them on about where they need to go in terms of enforcement. So I would be cautious about continuing to speak about that in public while there's an ongoing court case.
Did you say that the roosters were caged when you went back on Arcadia, was it?
When we followed some, we did lose some in bushes. There may have been a rooster in there. I mean, I couldn't clearly see them when they were running together. But when we were following a couple, they did cross the street. I'm feeling from Butler, no, that's not, the road there. They crossed the street, went in between some houses. We followed them to some cages, on our Arcadia.
Roosters?
And there were roosters in cages there, yeah. We followed chickens that were at large to this address. And some chickens were still at large, but there were roosters in cages, yes.
But we don't have roosters in cages or not in cages in the city limits of Shelbyville, is that correct?
That's correct. I think what you were saying is you did
We went-
basically
yes.
cite through the tenant.
You
You notified the landowner.
Yes, and when we went back the next day, maybe 2 days after the fact, they were no longer in those cages.
So that's the enforcement action.
Right.
I think one of the
Roosters were gone.
Yes, the
Yeah.
roosters that were in cages, there were no more roosters or chickens in the cages.
so that was the
At that
enforcement.
specific house, yes.
Yeah.
Now, we may have lost some roosters that were running at large in the bush, but when we followed some, that's where they led us. And then we saw roosters in cages, and they weren't there the next day.
Okay.
If I may
Seems
say.
that that flow runs.
Thank you, Mayor. I was just going to say, I think, Councilman Ewing, that's probably part of the issue with folks is think that they make a phone call. There's roosters somewhere, they find them, but they walk immediately on the property and take the rooster. That's not how it works. So from an enforcement action, they did what they did. They notified who should take the action, then went back out, found the roosters were gone. No further enforcement action than was needed.
How many days do you give them to do whatever? Like when you go and you find the roosters or whatever, when you talk to people, how many days do you give them to correct the action?
So for the roosters specifically, there's only been there's 44 for just prohibited roosters in this year, and we wrote 24 citations. And as I was saying, anytime we didn't write citation is because the roosters were being immediately removed. I even had some woman cook the rooster up. I'm like,
But I mean, when you do put a citation on there, how long do you wait to go back and follow up to?
they have a court date, and
Okay.
so like if someone were to have roosters and, of course they want to sell them or rehome them even, of
Yeah.
course we've had that, obviously.
You give them time to do that.
No, we write them the citation.
Okay.
So say it was today, we would write them the citation. The next city court date is November 3rd. However, that's less than a week away. So we would put it out December 1st, I think is the next city court date.
Mhm.
So for an example, come across a rooster, I'll write them the ticket for December 1st and tell them anytime between now and December 1st, if and or when they get rid of the rooster, to call us. We would come out then within a few days, again, just depending on the time and call volume, to double check and make sure that said rooster would be gone. And then after we visually confirm the rooster is gone, we would recommend to the city court clerk, this citation has been resolved, the rooster is no longer present.
So after you do that though, who's to say, just playing devil's advocate,
They
who's to
don't do
say that they don't say, oh, we got rid of the rooster, you go do it, and then they put that rooster right back out there as soon as you drop the,
Yes, and you're exactly right, and in Mr. Parsons'
who
case,
follows
that
back up with that?
Yeah.
whenever we get the next call to complaint, we wouldn't know that the rooster is back without being notified. We don't keep the list of roosters of the potential of them redoing
You
it.
don't
That
just
is-
do a spot check.
No, ma'am, we don't have a list to spot check for that, but that was what I was saying for Mr. Parsons, that is in fact what happened. We were able to issue a citation once to the person that has a rooster near Mr. Parsons' property. She got rid of the roosters, but still went to court, I believe, one time, and then the roosters were gone for a couple weeks and they came back. Mr. Parsons
Wow.
properly reported that, and we went back out and saw that the roosters were in fact there again, attempted to make new contact with the owner, and since we've not been able to, she's refused to answer the door. So in those cases, we just ask that we would be notified the rooster is back, and we would do the same thing, go back and write a ticket, as many times as it needed. In this one case, yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Has anyone contacted other cities, surrounding cities such as Tullahoma or Murfreesboro? Everyone has this issue. We're not the only ones.
No.
So what do they do in this time? Okay.
I was only able to really confer with one department. I think it was Winchester or Manchester, Manchester Animal Control. They also have prohibited roosters. And as I talked to their single animal control officer there, he was telling me pretty much, I mean, they are in the same boat. They will write citations, they'll go to their judge. One difference that I noted is that they employ an outside collections agency, and he just advised that in the scenario that he has seen, if someone refused to get rid of their rooster, they would be fined in their city court, and then if they refused to pay fine and still get rid of the rooster, then they would be referred to the collections agency. Now, he couldn't tell me of a specific example of where that happened, but just speculating that's what would. He also just seen the same thing that I'm seeing, is most people have complied, and then there's the outliers that we're currently dealing with.
So Brian, in that case, he hadn't had an in-contact house trained person who didn't comply. He hadn't run up against that yet. Those people have complied with it.
Yes, yeah.
We just have run into one here that we need to take it a step further.
So
Enforcement a step further.
are we gonna look at the ordinance and do any changes or, that type of thing? What, expedite this and move forward? Because, again, we know that the situations with our dogs and our cats, the facility there, what we have to work with. But tonight, this is beyond that, beyond the dogs and beyond the cats. So I think that we need to either take the step, and as the mayor said, we've got to abide by what we put in place or other councils have set.
And as Ginger said, we're taking, steps from a legal standpoint of what we can do. Most of these roosters are being rehomed, and I like that word, on dogs or whatever, that they can move them somewhere else. But in this case, it just keeps coming back, keeps coming back, keeps coming back. Anybody got any suggestions of what we need to do? We passed that ordinance when?
23.
December 2023.
23 on the rooster ban.
Thank you, Mariah.
On the rooster ban, back to Councilwoman Ewing's question about opening up, I think I had emailed council, I know I mentioned staff. I was a part of, probably 10 years ago now, there was a comprehensive look at all of animal control, and council at that point appointed an ad hoc committee. It had a vet, animal control, police, it had a couple of animal welfare organizations, and they took 6 months to review your animal control ordinance and then came back with recommendations. So that's just, I'm throwing that out that the city's done that before. And that may be, it depends on how many things that you want to look at and want a particular look at changing.
And that's the only one that I remember since I have been mayor that we've run into, is that one ordinance that we added for roosters. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And we've changed a couple of times before you were elected
That's
mayor.
right.
On some small things, we did the tethering changes, you remember that?
Right.
But that was a larger comprehensive, Pat, I don't think you were the police officer that sat on that, but that's been about 10 years ago. A committee that council did to have somebody look at it and get a lot of input from people around the city, around the community.
Scott, do you have something to say?
Yes.
City manager?
To me, we staff have met on these issues after consulting with you all and hearing from citizens also. Number one, the effort to be a true no-kill shelter probably just needs policy tweaking and allowing animal control to have the authority of surrender or whatever and saying, no, we can't mirror the county's policy. But more importantly, city attorney, I believe you was explaining to us last week the process. I mean, technically, when you look at it, now this is not gonna give Mr. Parsons one bit of relief. But when you look at the overall big picture of the Rooster Band, it's been successful.
It's been successful.
And again,
Except for that.
if we've got one more case, we understand. But since we have a non-compliant neighbor that is being a nuisance, what legally can we do to get rid of that rooster?
Yeah, and that's what I
There's
did.
not just one.
He got one place.
She went to court one time, and then when she brought the chickens back, she had 4 roosters. It's not just one, there's 4.
Well,
But they still have.
again,
property, is that right?
I need to review the case with animal control.
Because did
I
you
don't know
say
where
we
they
could
were, if
even-
they've written for.
But did you say we could possibly even file a warrant or something in general sessions court, or did I misunderstand?
No, that's the email that I sent back out to you all Friday. That's one of the things that, at the time, then DC, Brian Cruz went over with you all back in 23 about the way and the why you all decided not to do the impoundment.
Right.
He talked about how you could potentially impound before you went to court. Well, that could get very expensive. You could be 2 or 3 months at that time. The bigger question for me is, you can even if you got this person into court, remember, court is issuing fines.
Right.
And so the bigger question is, how do you get an order from the municipal court that says you do this on a certain day, or we come onto your property to grab those roosters? And that's where speculation again about where you probably have to go and get another court order to enforce a municipal court order.
But then if we get them, where are we gonna put them?
You have to go through that, yeah.
You know,
It's one of those things that usually you don't have to do those things in municipal court.
That's right.
It's the fines normally take care of things like that. People normally don't like having a lot of fines, but that also means that you are, and you've heard them say earlier about Manchester has a collection agency. You normally have to run up, and I know at one point last year, I think the fines were up to at least 4,000. I'm talking again about an active case. No telling what they are now, but you have to, just because fines exist, you have to go enforce that. Meaning you then go file a collection action against someone
and I guess the way
for a debt.
is if you're not getting anything, so if you can get it through a collection agency, getting something is better than nothing.
Yeah, so you take them to court.
Yeah.
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 And get that collection agency collecting for it.
Well, what about if they're renting, you can tack that to the,
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
that was an advantage.
When you say tack on, you're trying to go into their taxes. Taxes.
Okay, yes.
Deputy Chief, Mathis, do you have anything that you need to, you've been, involved in this all the time. Is there anything you need to share with us tonight?
I really don't know. As far as inspections, Mr. Parsons' place is a prime example. He allowed us to go on the property and see if we could see the roosters. Of course, she's put up tarps to hide the roosters now. So anything she can do to keep us from seeing them, she's doing. In order to go on the property, we would almost need a search warrant, and I don't know that you can get a search warrant for a civil violation.
We would try to get an administrative inspection. But you all do have to realize, I mean, we're talking about escalating actions.
Yeah.
That we probably can take, but then you need to remember what that looks like in the public eye, that you use such force on a rooster ban. So that can go
Yes, sir.
back to bite you. You just have to remember that.
Can I say one thing? If you were at my house every morning at 5 o'clock and you were being woke up, and if I work construction, like today, I was off work, it was raining, couldn't do anything, I had to stay at home. I tried to do my paperwork. And this it's not just outside, it's inside my house.
Yeah.
I can go nowhere inside my house without hearing a rooster crow. And it starts that early, and it doesn't stop until the sun starts going down. So I mean, you know, put yourself in, and I would, forgive me, I was not trying to be rude to you guys. But I just want you to know what I have to live through every day.
Yeah.
I try to leave home to get away from the situation, but I can't run forever.
Scott, did you have something to say? Thank you.
Yes, sir. Mayor, to follow up on what Ginger said earlier, would the council entertain the thought of staff bringing like 5 people to serve on the committee, to whatever number, and then giving a timeline, get this done? And then figure out how to enforce it, how to fine it, how to give the Mr. Parsons of the city relief.
I'm opposed to it, because the last time we did it, before we did it, I had just about had the council convinced to pass the no dogs on chains for the city, and after that group met, they changed it. So, no, I'm not real happy about it. I mean, you're asking to get 5 people that, they're not any more involved and don't know near as much as we do, and if we can't come up with a solution, then why would we, you know, we're the ones that need to come up with a solution to this problem. We passed the ordinance.
Right.
And I don't know what it would take legally, and that's where we're gonna have to lean on Ginger as to what, and I understand Mr. Parsons' problem. And I have a question, if you can hear those roosters, why do you have to physically see them, chief?
Oh, I see them, they was in my yard, I had a rooster in my yard today. Oh, I'm sorry.
I think it's just partially confirming the number, per four.
But you know they're there because you can hear them, so.
Yeah, that's
I
not,
mean,
that's not
if
a problem.
so,
It's the
if
number.
that is all we need to take the next step.
They need to know the number. She's gonna have more confirmation than that. So she knows enough to know that that's there. But, it may sound harsh, and I understand the public doesn't recognize this. The enforcement of laws like this take a lot, and I've said it in codes, I've said it in zoning and planning. You have to have the resources. The city and the county has to dedicate the resources to do that, whether that's money, people, the equipment, getting a collection agency, being willing to file other lawsuits. That's what it takes to enforce. You've got the laws on the books, but it's enforcement. It is enforcement, which is why I say, you've heard me, I'll say this again, running at large is a whole different animal.
Right.
And my recollection on that the tethering issue again was, how do you enforce that then? And I remember the discussion about how many animals are probably outside on some type of tethering device now. And if you outlaw that, what are the repercussions? Where are those animals gonna go? What kind of strain does that put on your animal control department to go pick all those up? All of those things can be addressed. You just have to create a big enough animal control department to handle it, to do it. That's really what the conversation always comes back to, are the resources.
I have just spoken to Scott, and we feel like that we just need to put Ginger's ability as our legal authority to look into this one particular case and what's the next steps we need to take and go from there.
I don't know, but I think you all have some things you want changed in the ordinance itself.
Well, I have a question too for you. Does the lady have a business next door, or for any of y'all, the lady that lives beside you, is she selling eggs? Is she doing anything like that with the chickens? I mean, just if there is there a business license? Is there something else you can go after?
I had heard that she worked out of town at a retail store. I haven't been able to confirm that. Most of the time, the vehicles never move.
Yeah, she was working up to about a couple of months ago, and then She's pretty much at home 24/7.
I have one more question just about the department and in general, just if, I feel like animal control is a big part of what we deal with a lot on our calls from a lot of things, either dogs or cats or whatever, and I know that Deputy Chief Mathis does a wonderful job overseeing that, but maybe he would not want the headache either. Is it time that, I mean, we've got a cemetery director over a couple of people. Is it time that we hire a director of animal control and actually separate animal control into its own department where they can help us handle, get more training, get more education, get what they need as a department, as a standalone,
I don't see
and
that,
kind of relieve.
I don't see that solving the problem. I don't think that's gonna rectify anything, because the problem is not lying with the lack of education. I think the biggest problem is lying with the facility that we have, the lack of space, and the things that we just aren't permitted to do to remove animals or whatever protocol that we need. I mean, all of that is that would be a good.
It would give an extra set of people
That
on
would
the
be-
ground too.
Yeah, that would be ideal, but I think at this point, that's not the solution. And what I wanted to say is, there has got to be people, entities in the county that are willing to take the roosters off of our hands in the city. The gentleman on Greenwood, he has traps, and just so happened his daughter lives in the country, and she'll come and get them every now and then when she catches them. There are people, has anyone ever thought about calling an entity or a person 4-H? That would take these, I mean, really?
Does the county have a rooster problem?
But I don't think they have the ordinance. I don't think they have the ordinance.
They're not out there.
Well, let's got the solution. Advertise in the Times-Gazette, who wants free roosters and
There
chickens?
you go. Can we do that?
Start floating them out. I guarantee you that should be right down the table.
Yeah.
But I don't know, the county has an ordinance against roosters. So see, there's
No,
no ordinance, so they don't have to do that. So, you know,
That
they
would-
don't have the problem.
That would not be allowed.
No,
To
I'm like, they
see.
don't have a problem with it.
Just municipalities.
I think we need to go with, our legal team
Well,
and
that's
let you look forward, and see what we can do in this particular one.
Sure, that's one
The rest of them have been working with us. The one you got over there on Greenwood, have they still got roosters running loose?
Yeah.
And chickens.
Yeah.
Do you know?
All that.
Well, if they're running loose, you can pick them up, right?
I don't know how they answer
Okay.
that.
Give them a eye and the chief time to see what they can do with that one. But we know that other one is a problem. Yes, sir.
It would help if the people that are having problems would call animal control directly.
Oh, wait a minute, hold on.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, we've got some issues with calling the animal control. We've got issues where the phones aren't being answered. We've got some complaints where some are not as cordial. So there's an issue there. There's an issue there.
If you can give me some specifics, I'll be happy to look into.
Okay, I sure will.
All right.
Okay.
Well, then that, to me, that kind of backs Betsy's thought process that at one time, didn't we, Henry, back a few years, didn't we have an animal control person over their own, like a department head? Was it McCullough or something?
They've all been under.
It's always been a.
Is it always been under the police? It's always been under the
Yeah,
police department?
yeah.
Okay.
Falls under the DC.
It was originally Public Works, and then, they had an issue out there, and it fell back up.
That's right, yeah. I thought that, yeah.
Well, I mean, it's something that I'm sure you would really wouldn't care if you didn't have to.
Well, I'm here to help.
Right, sure.
You know, I mean, I don't mind helping Mariah and them with legal issues or questions they have, or maybe even ideas on how we can do a better job. And we've got a good department, and I don't want to see that disrupted.
Okay,
But
okay. All right. Well, let's look, Ginger, if you can look into this one situation that we have and see what we can do with it. And we can look forward to the future as we grow, as the city grows, and see what we might need as far as going in a direction of expanding that. This one on, that you were talking about on Greenwood, it needs to be taken care of, whatever we need to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one that Mariah was talking about, that she went to Boston and then followed them over to Acadia and lost them over there, so she's aware.
Yeah, I mean,
She
that was,
just, yeah.
that was one case. I don't know if the same chickens are on Greenwood, if it's not reported to our department.
I know you got a difficult job.
Especially when we talked to two different people and got chickens removed.
Yeah.
It's reasonable to assume that the chickens that were causing the problems were all removed unless we're otherwise notified, and I haven't otherwise been notified.
Okay, all right. Is that good with the council members? Is there anything else that we need to discuss?
I'm confused. Okay, straighten me out. Okay. Attorney Sharp, she is going to, what is it?
I'm gonna consult with them about where their case is, that one case. See what they can do in terms of enforcement, but I understand you want to, if there are other issues in the ordinance that you wanna change, that was your question. I think, what are you're gonna do about the ordinance? That's when I said you could do a committee, but
Yes, because at the end of the day, we still have the pig tied to the tree, and we have many goats. I have pictures when there was 5 goats on Cedar River Road, I think. I mean, so we still have those issues. So what, did we?
never heard about goats.
Yeah, I don't think we need
They're legal.
There's a goat that they tied to the tree on Fairfield Pike. And it chews the grass down, they chews the grass down, and they move it to another tree. It is there, but.
Let me have control here just a
Okay,
moment.
Mr.
Can I have control just a moment? Mariah had something to say about the goats.
Yes, sir. There are goats and sheep,
Mhm.
not belonging to the same people. So there is a residence, I believe in the 200 block of Cedar River Road, that owns goats.
Yes.
We've spoken to them about having their goats tied up in the front, even got them to use collars to satisfy the city ordinance for tethering restrictions for said goats in the front yard that aren't there all the time, but also have a pin in the back. Otherwise, that's satisfied by length and collars and proper fixtures. And then a separate case, we've dealt with sheep. I'm gonna tell you for sure how many, I wanna say 7 to 9, that belong to not a residence on that road, but the road through some woods behind, and it's literally their house is in the woods. They walk through 50 feet of woods and found themselves to be on Cedar River Road. The 2 times that the sheep have been an issue, one time was the police department dealt with them, got the owners to return them, and then I want to say it was a couple months after that, our department physically responded, saw the sheep, got the owners to reclaim them, issued a citation, and I believe we have yet to follow up to confirm that the sheep have been rehomed, but that was their desire after having 2 incidences where their animals were issued, they were going to rehome the sheep, but they had a citation for sheep.
And we're gonna have these issues, as our city grows and many people that we've got in the city, there's gonna be these issues. But as far as going back to the ordinance and adding any more, as far as putting another animal or this or that or the other, I don't think we need to do that. We need to just handle what we've got right now. That's my opinion. Now, the council may disagree with me, but that's my opinion, that we stay with that. And we'll ask Ginger to move forward with this other situation. What else do we have tonight, folks?
Mayor, I just want to reiterate
Okay.
my statement that I do think that at some point in time in the near future, we need to look
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
separating animal control to put it in its own department. Like I said, we have a cemetery. We should have an animal control department.
Okay. All right. That's noted, Ms. Noel. Thank you.
So
Anyone else?
no changes, nothing to the ordinance. We're still where we were.
Is this John's will?
Anybody feel like we need to change anything? Council members?
Council members,
Then no? No?
everything's okay?
It sounds like to me, from what I've heard, we've got some policy things, like we want to vaccinate them on intake.
Yeah,
We want to maybe adjust our hours to let people,
yeah,
adopt some animals rather than euthanize them. And maybe a vet to oversee
yeah.
our animal control people, so maybe they can do more vaccinations quicker without calling in a vet. That's policy.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's right.
The ordinance is written, sounds like it's really working actually, except for
I think so,
one
yeah.
outlier there. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm ready to go after whatever it takes.
Yeah,
Spend the resources, go after them,
once you pass that ordinance, that's what we need to do.
use other stronger words, but
Yeah.
I'd like to see them pay.
Yeah,
So-
we have that with codes too, yeah.
So did you guys hit the ground running at 7 o'clock in the morning? Is it really busy, or if those hours were adjusted so that you could stay open later?
I would say it's hit and miss. I could see that it would be beneficial to some people sometimes. For it to be every day, I don't know. I don't know that we would see it immediately. Like I said, we make plenty of after hours appointments when people are interested in doing so. And even when someone calls interested in adopting or email, because you can email while at work, not be physically present or take the time on the phone call. We always make that offer is, what time do you get off work? Where do you come from? We can make arrangements to make that work because that is our end goal is more adoptions. And frankly, when we don't get the adoptions, I don't see it's because of the time. I see it's no one's wanting the particular animals you have for adoption. You go to an adoption place and you interact with the animal and you have certain desires in mind, activity level, size, or breed, or something like that. I find those are more restrictive than the time. But that, like I said, we try to make adjustments to help people with their time constraints. Yes.
Scott said that he would work with you as far as policy changes and things like that. Appreciate everybody. Councilmember Feldhouse, Councilmember Ewing, Councilmember Noel, Councilmember Christie, Councilmember Blevins, Councilmember Turnbull, we're glad to have you. That's great. Mariah and Deputy Chief, we appreciate you. And folks, Mr. Parsons, Ms. Armstrong, I didn't catch your name, but we appreciate you being with us tonight. Kay, appreciate you being with us tonight. And Lisa and Scott and Ginger.
Yes.
I'm gonna adjourn this meeting if we don't have anything else. It's adjourned.
Thank you.